In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our course Apply Linguistics. Today's topic, as you can see here, it's about error analysis. And our last lecture was also about this error analysis, the definition of error or difference between mistakes and errors. Today we will discuss some basic components or basic terminology about error analysis that are being used in applied linguistics, or some causes. We will also discuss about error analysis, or what is the significance of this error analysis. We will discuss all in our today's lecture. So what are the basic concepts about this error analysis? As we can see here, there are two main school of thoughts related to these errors, or related to making errors by the second language learners. The first school of thought, they claim that if we want to achieve a perfect teaching method, the errors would never be committed in the first place, and therefore the occurrence of errors is merely a sign of the present inadequacy of our teaching techniques. All they blame that all reasons of making errors is due to the imperfect teaching or inadequate teaching, and that could not be justified. So the second school of thought about these errors, making errors, is that as we live in an imperfect world, and consequently errors will always occur in spite of our best efforts, so our ingenuity should be concentrated on the techniques for dealing with errors after they have occurred. Means we have to manage in this way, although there will be some sort of faults or some sort of inadequacy or imperfect teaching will be over there for a second language learner, and these errors will be occur by the second language learner. However, we have to cope with this problem, with this issue. We have to manage, we have to apply, we have to use some different techniques or strategies, so that this issue could be reduced, or this problem could be resolved. There is a difference between learning a second language and acquisition of mother tongue. So acquisition of mother tongue is inevitable. Means a child has to learn his or her mother tongue. It's a necessity, on the basis of necessity, or and inevitable means he has to learn at any cost. There is no option that the child could skip this uh, skill, or otherwise he would have to face problems. He will not be able to fulfill his basic needs. For example, a child wants to get milk, or wants to eat something, and he definitely would say something, maybe in a wrong way, maybe in a correct way. He would use the channel of speaking, or channel of uttering some statements. So this is inevitable. He cannot stay silent, cannot, because if he would remain silent, he would not be able to fulfill his basic need. So this is a natural process, and Allah Almighty has infested in the minds of the children that they have to say something, they have to utter something, they have to express their basic needs in a way that mother could identify and fulfill their needs. So this is inevitable. This is uh, what we can say, no optional, right? So this has inevitably led to consideration of the acquisition of the question whether there are any parallel between the processes of acquiring the mother tongue and the learning of a second language. So what are the processes involved in acquisition of mother tongue or in learning a second language? Are they parallel? No, it could not be parallel. Learning of the mother tongue is inevitable. It's not optional. It's compulsory. It's necessary. Whereas there is no such inevitability about the learning of a second language. Although we can see some people have very keen interest, or they have to, what we can say, uh, they want to learn the second language because they want to go abroad, and it's necessity for them, it's an inevitable for them to learn that language, or they are doing a job, they want to launch a business in foreign countries, so it's compulsory, it's necessity, or it become uh, very, what we can say, they have to learn that language uh, at any cost, by hook and crook. They have to learn, like a child has to learn his or her mother tongue. However, there is a difference. A child is acquisition. A child is involved in the acquisition of mother tongue, or a learner is sitting in the classroom learning a second language, right? A learner who is sitting in the class and he is attending a class of foreign language or second language, or there is a teacher, and a teacher is acting the main role, and he or she is speaking all of the time. He's giving instructions, he's teaching them, he's reading, or he's speaking. Most of the time active agent is teacher, whereas a listener or a learner who is sitting in the classroom, in most of the cases he or she is sitting silently. So inactive agent, we can say he is a inactive agent. So inactive agent or active agent, you can see that there is a difference between these two things. The learning of mother tongue is part of the whole maturation process, yes, of course, of the child. Yes, the learning of mother tongue, not only the child is learning a language, as well as a maturation process is also involved at that period of time. Whereas learning a second language normally begins after the maturation process is largely complete, after 12 years or 12, 13 or 14 years time. Most, in many cases, after the teenagers. So that's also difference between acquisition of mother tongue or learning a second language, that there is no maturation of process in learning of a second language. So that's why the motivation for a learning first language is quite different from that of learning a second language. It could also be justified in this way. Let's see another difference between learning second language and acquisition of mother tongue. When a child say this statement, "This mommy chair," and although it's not correct grammatically, it's a wrong sentence, but there is communication. And a mother, when she hears her child by saying this statement, "This mommy chair," she becomes very happy, and she expresses her happiness and pleasure to the child, and child feels that he or she has done marvelous things because his or her mother is very happy. So in this way, the mother who hears this statement, "This mommy chair," her attitude, I mean the attitude of the mother, encourages the child to say more and more phrases or sentences, whether wrong or correct, no matter. So to encourage the child, mothers give some good expression or some expression, with agreements that the child is developing in the process of the child is involved in the process of developing the language, or development of the language is involved over there. So in this way, a child will continue this process of development of the language, or learning of language, or sorry, acquisition of the mother tongue. Is this process going to continue? Whereas if this sort of statement is uttered by a second language learner in the classroom, can you think about that? What would be the behavior and attitude of the teacher? Normally, in our Asian context or in our Pakistani context, what sort of responses will be given by the teacher to the learner who will say something in a wrong way, in a wrong grammar or wrong grammatical sentence? Definitely, you can understand, you can think the consequences of this wrongly uttered sentences. So, in the classroom situation, second language learner have to face scolding, a scaring environment, or a threatful environment that is imposed by the teacher. Not in every cases, but normally in most of the majority of the cases, we can see these sorts of things. So this is the main difference between learning a second language or acquiring a mother tongue, or acquisition of mother tongue. Acquiring a mother tongue or acquisition of the mother tongue and learning of second language is two different approaches. According to the linguist, that is in most of the cases, or it's a normal routine that adult people make mistakes in their native language or in their mother tongue or in L1, while in spoken or written there are some sort of mistakes or some sort of errors are being performed by the speakers, and it's a normal. And because there are some factors involved when a person is speaking or giving something written account, it could be due to the memory lapses or physical states such as tiredness and some sort of exertions over there. A person is so much in the state of fatigue, and there are some sort of psychological conditions could also be there, such as strong emotions or some sort of fear or some sort of threatful environment, it could be over there. So because of these issues and because of these factors, a person is committing errors in L1 or in native language even. So how can we expect a person who is learning a second language or third language or foreign language, it could be error free? So it could not be, we cannot say it's normal. Rather, it's normal to make errors in the process of second language learning. So these are the adventitious artifacts of linguistic performance and do not reflect the defect in our knowledge of our own language. If we have to face problems in speaking our L1 or mother tongue. So these are the, what we can say, these are not considered major issues. So if these are the common things or these are the routine matters to make errors in L1, so we are normally immediately aware of them when they occur and can correct them with more or less complete assurance. So it will be quite unreasonable to expect the learner of a second language not to exhibit such slips of the tongue or pen, means in spoken or in written, since he is subject to the similar external or internal conditions when performing in his first or second language. And I think, in my opinion, is second language learners we have more fatigued, or what we can say, a threatful environment or an artificial environment we have to create natural like speaking, or it's more demanding task, or it's more complicated task as compared to acquisition of mother tongue or learning of L1 for mother tongue. So this is normal. We cannot say that this is abnormal, or this is must not be occurred in the process of language learning. So making errors in second language learning process is a normal and it's a routine matter. So we must take it as a routine. However, we must apply some strategies. We must devise some techniques to cope with the issues because issues must be resolved. So what we can say, the occurrence of the issue is not a big issue. However, these issues must be resolved by the teacher, by the stakeholders, and the persons who are in the authority to run institutions of second language learning or that sort of things. Okay, let's see what are the common errors committed by second language learners. It's a plural form, it's a subject-verb agreement or arrangement, or errors in using articles like definite articles or indefinite articles like a or an, or definite the article of the, or these are also called determiners. So incorrect word selection is also a common errors committed by the second language learner. Then there are errors in using prepositions, and one more error that is performed by the second language learner in this process of language learning or second language learning is spelling mistakes. Oh, this is a big issue faced by the learners in the classrooms, and even in most of the cases. I think it's also spelling mistakes. It's also a big issue for the learners in most of the cases. So, what is a plural form? To make the singular into, to change the singular into plural form, and mostly the number one rule that is taught to the learners, that put the word, put the letter s at the end of the word, and it becomes plural form of the word, like book or books, or cats, cats, twice, boys. So this is the one rule, and the learner who is involved in the process of learning a language, or getting more and more vocabulary, or learning new rules or grammatical rules, so he or she is confused sometimes. So one rule number one is learned by the learner. He or she puts in another situation where that rule is inappropriate, like what we can say here, the example of child, the plural form is children, not childs. And here I want to discuss, I want to share one of my rememberable events. When a long time ago, I was sitting with my colleague, and she was checking paper to what grade. I couldn't remember the exact grade, but she was checking the paper, and English paper, in the subject of English, and majority, not majority, all of the students, almost, it was the strength, I think the class of the strength of the class was 30, and in majority, no, not majority, and 25, at least 25 or 6 students, she was checking the paper, and the students made this plural form of childs, not children. And she was checking paper continuously, and she was telling me again and again, oh, again, childs, they don't know. They are very stupid students, and they don't know how to make some plural form of this child. It's not a child, it's a children. And after 25 or 26 papers, when she was checking 27 or maybe 28, it's almost finished the bundle of that paper, and one student used the word children, and she put question mark at before the children, And she told me that I'm also confused by this children, whether it's a child or children. I'm also confused by this frequent use of the plural form of this child. So this has happened even with the teachers, not only with the students or learners. So errors in using articles, like definite articles, or sorry, subject verb arrangements or subject verb agreements. So here some students are confused and they don't know in what way they have to put the verb, or a helping verb or auxiliary verb, in what way they have to arrange with the subject, or whether what is the usage of is, am, are, or was, were, has, have, like these sorts of things. They are confused. Then error in using articles a and the, articles a and are indefinite articles, and these definite articles. Incorrect word selections. Sometimes we have to face this issue, and we are unable to use the appropriate word for the appropriate context. Preposition errors, most of the time we are confused, and spelling mistakes is also a major issue. So plural form, we can see here the word used by the even at university level students or researchers, they are using. I also found some researchers to use this word datas. Data, the word data is wrong, and its a plural form is data, data, not with s, because its a singular form is datum, 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 not data. So make correction of yourself if you are using the word datas for plural form. Here you can see man or men, woman or women, or child or children. Very good examples of plural form. Subject verb arrangement. Here you can also see some examples used by this learner, and it's checked by a teacher. So you can also see the I think it's a singular persons, and use the form of s, as we use with the singular person in the present indefinite tense. So, or we don't use the s with the plural form. So this, you can see subject verb agreements or arrangements. And then there are some grammar rules with articles. You can see here, she's making noise, not she is making a noise. He's in wrong, he's in the wrong way, or wrong. Horse is a faithful animal, it's a wrong. The horse is faithful animal. She is telling lie, not she is telling a lie. I saw snake in the garden, I saw a snake in the garden. This is also a big issue. We are unable to find appropriate word, and incorrect word selection most probably we have to face in our Pakistani context, because our exposure is very least. We are not accustomed to use this English language in different contexts. So whenever we try to speak, we feel these problems, and we are unable to. It's just lack of exposure, and just lack of practice. Otherwise, it could not be faced by the learners if they have sufficient practice in, or they are using frequently. This language is used by the learners frequently in the classrooms setting. So this problem could also be removed. Preposition errors, most of the time, and majority of the learners have to face this. So what is the use of agree to? It's a wrong way. Agree with, or agree with, wrong. Agree to by the months, or waiting the arrival of the postman. No, it's waiting for, right? Or wait inside the white line, wait behind the white line, or waiting from 3 hours, waiting for 3 hours, or reached at the airport, not reached the airport. Or flight will depart in 8 a.m. No, flight will depart at a.m. Yeah, we are just on time to catch the train. No, it's the wrong way. Yeah, we are just in time to catch the train. And we should pay our bills in time. We should pay our bills in time. Can you see that what is the difference between on and in while in the last two sentences? In time mean at the nick of the time, the last stage, the last time the train is going to depart, and finally we reached over there. It's used for the nick of the time, the last time. Or on time. On time means before time. We must not wait for the last date for to deposit our bills or to pay our bills. So we must be careful, and we must pay our bills before time. So on time mean before times, in time mean at the nick of the time. Keep in your mind. Spelling errors. Many uh, learners have to face these problems, like calendar or definitely, and we use also in this way definitely, not definitely, or definition. Sometimes we use the word definition and we write definition, nation, so it's a wrong way. Tomorrow, it's a tomorrow. Noticeable, not noticeable. Or convenient, not in this way, the wrong spelling. Convenient. So after that, there are some causes of error analysis. Mainly, there are two causes of error analysis used told by the experts or linguists. It's interlingual errors or intralingual errors. What is interlingual error? It's barriers from mother tongue, or it's what we can say. It's interference of mother tongue, or transfer errors when moved from one language to another. So this is problem have this is the problem faced by the learners. And misuse of an item due to L1 influence, like interference of mother tongue or variance from the mother tongue, same. So interlingual errors means problems or errors caused by L1 while learning target language. Number two is intralingual errors. So what are the intralingual errors? Intralingual errors are those errors that are faced by the learners from target language to target language. There is no interference of mother tongue, or there is no barriers from mother tongue. Instead, just the language that is learned by the learners, this that is the only language. If a learner or child is learning English language as a second language, a foreign language, so rules learned by the learners in that particular language, he or she is confused while applying those rules in practical form in practice. So this is from target language to target language. Interlingual errors from mother tongue to target language. Keep in your mind. So interlingual or interlanguage interference errors occur as a result of the use of elements from one language while speaking another. So what we can say, interference of one language towards the another language. So usage of no for all negative sentences. No look my car. She no want to go. He no can do things. It seems to me and as well you that a child is speaking. No, look my car. She no want to go. He no can do things. Right? Interlingual errors is the effect of language form when two languages cross or overlap. It involves with accurate pronunciation or proper way of describing something. It could be phonological errors, it could be lexical errors, or it could be syntactic errors. So phonological errors means in the spoken form we are unable to use appropriate sound, like in Arabic language there is no pa sound, so that's why an Arab language an Arab would say Pakistan, not Pakistan, because there is no pa sound in Arab alphabet or in Arabic alphabet. Or it could be lexical errors. The building is tall, you fall from my eyes, the clock is now 10. So it could be the lexical errors mean, but we can say it could also be applied to the false vocabulary and we are unable to use the appropriate word for the appropriate things or appropriate context. Syntactic errors is also grammatical errors. Ellie good students don't play cricket. The boy that I saw him is called Ellie. So there is a structural problem or formation problem. So number two is the intralingual errors. Intralingual errors, what we can say here are some reasons in under this heading we can discuss faulty generalization, incomplete application of rules and failure to learn conditions under which rules apply. But we can say in general sense or in simple words we can say a learner has learned one rule of target language and because his or her knowledge is incomplete because he or she is in the process of learning and things are changes or things are learning rapidly immediately and sometimes something is missing and sometimes he or she forgets about the rules or so she or he is confused while using the correct form correct principles to apply correct principles or formula or what we can say here that he is not a sufficient or efficient user of that language, so that's why most of the time he confused and he apply one rule to another situation or into another context. For example, he has learned the how to make past tense and the teacher told him or her that put ed at the end of the first verb, it will become past tense like inherit or inherited, direct, directed, instruct, instructed. So because of learning that rules to formulate the past tense or construct the past tense, would apply that rule in each and every sentence to make this past tense like he take the book rather than took a book and she go to the park rather than she went to the park. So it's a confusion about some rules or applying some already learned principles or formulas or rules to make some more sentences or verb or make some more forms of the word. So in intralingual errors, we can see overgeneralization. It means a learner has learned a rule and he uses that learned rules into a different or into different context or in a wrong way. For example, see the usage of can or with the singular noun he can sings instead of he can sing or he sings or wrong usage of past tense. I was in Frankfurt when I filled application rather than I filled application or wrong usage of interrogative sentence. What did he intended to say? So these sorts of rules are used by the learners in a wrong way. Next, ignorance of rule restriction involves the application of rules to contexts where they do not apply. For example, wrong usage of infinitive. He made me to rest rather than he made me to take rest. Incomplete rules application as we already have discussed that a learner who is learning a second language he is involved he's in charge in the process of learning that particular language and still that process is going on and that process is not complete, so that's why he on daily basis he or she is learning or some new rules or applying the previous rules. So this is a process that is not complete. So it involves failure to fully develop a structure word order in questions. For example, you like to sing instead of do you like to sing. So wrong usage of sentence structure. Next, false analogy. It arises when learner incorrectly thinks that a new item is learned like another item already known to him or her. It seems like overgeneralization. A plural form of dog is dogs. So plural of sheep is sheeps, or furniture is furnitures, or woman is women's instead of women. And other reasons could also be involved in error analysis, that is called literal translations, word to word translation, what we can say, or it is the translation of a text done by translating each word separately without looking at how the words are used together in a phrase or a sentence. Kindergarten would be garden of children, but in English the expression refers to the school years between preschool and first grade. So kindergarten, if we want to translate this word, it would be garden of children, but no, kindergarten is kindergarten, and that term will be used as it is by second language learner, or if he or she tries to make translation, it would be a wrong way. Or मेरा दिल बाग बाग हो गया, my heart became garden garden. That is a very famous sentence that is being used by the teacher and students. And so it would be a wrong translation. Word to word translation would be wrong translation, and students try to make translation word to word translation. That's why it becomes problem for them to understand the second language than in an accurate. Literal translation is a term used to describe a word for word translation that sticks too close to the source text. And it is a translation that sounds unnatural in the target language, is usually hard to read and does not convey the meaning of the original text, especially when there is a problem, when there is a communication gap. What is the usage of that word to word translation? So, mostly students try to use word to word translation, and it could be the effect of L1. Yes, so this is the wrong way. Literal translation implies that transfer of communicatively irrelevant elements of the source text, which may result in a violation of the semantic. It means that there will be no communication, understanding or comprehensions will be missing over there if we want to try word to word translation. So we can see in idiomatic translation there is no literal translation, and words are totally different. And if we will see these examples, तंदुरुस्ती हजार नेमत है, health is wealth. Although there is no linkage or there is no translation, there is no word to word translation, but communication is there, comprehension is there, understanding is there. So that's why literal translation is also a different thing. And when students or learner of second language tries to make literal translation, especially in idioms, they make mistakes. Here you can see tel dekho tel ki dhar dekho, let's see which way the wind blow. थोथा छना बाजे घना, an empty vessel makes much noise. तुझे पराई क्या पड़ी अपनी नबेड़ तू, sweep before your own door. And these are very effective, what we can say, the language used in these idioms, no matter in Urdu or English, it's very impressive, it's very effective. Let's see another proverb, in Punjabi proverb, because I'm a Punjabi and I can understand Punjabi language, Punjabi proverbs. And this proverb, as you can see here in this slide, in the last slide of our today's lecture, my mother used to speak this proverb in my childhood, and used to ask from my mother to give explanation, interpretation of this proverb. So I can understand, and if you are a Punjabi speaker, I want to know whether you are able to understand or explain this proverb in your Urdu language or English. So please send me the translation of this Punjabi Darbal Misal in Urdu and English as well. Email me. Let's try to read this Punjabi Darbal Misal. My mother used to say, "An hile nu hilaiye na, te hile di tak ban jaiye na." Listen again. "An hile nu hilaiye na, te hile di tak ban jaiye na." Send me translation of this Punjabi proverb. Okay, goodbye, take care. It's end of our today's lecture.